If skateboarding is art, doesn't that mean that the most creative skateboarder is actually the best? Weird question today. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Rad Rat Video, a channel where we talk about all different kinds of things in the skateboarding world. I answer your questions on this series. I've got a question from Joseph James Julio Jordan Smith Jr., who says, I was playing a custom Tony Hawk 1 and 2 level that was the hangar and the warehouse combined. I thought it was very cool, and it made me think, which other levels, if any, would be good to combine? Maybe school and school 2, but let's forget school 3 existed. I thought about maybe mall, and at the end you come out into streets or downtown, or maybe Skater Island and the cruise ship replacing the ship outside. What do you think? The only combo that I thought could work is San Francisco and Alcatraz, because they're actually right next to each other. So like that would make sense if there was some sort of, I don't know how you would do it. Maybe you have like a bridge or like a tunnel that you can go through, like a little teleporter tunnel where you can go, but the thing is, the more I thought about it, the more it's just like the load zones, in Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. You can skate in, this place, and then there's this little tunnel, and it takes you to the next one. You would never skate them both in a combo. It's one, and then you go to the other one, and it doesn't really do much for the game. Yes, you don't have to load to the next one, but that's it. It doesn't really make it more interesting. So I think they need to leave those old stages alone. They really need to just let them exist within the world that they were meant to exist in. So with the new version, the HD version of the game, like it works well, but it's still, I think it would have been better if they made new stuff. Because their goal with that game was to make it feel classic, but not actually be the same engine as the old games. There's stuff that you can do, I think you can do spine transfers, right? Like spine transfers that weren't in any, you couldn't do those in the first two games where all the stages are from. So how does that make sense? So if they were to just make new stuff that fit the engine, that would be better. So hopefully they don't try to do that kind of stuff. I think it's time to let those levels exist where they belong. And let's try something new and try to maybe be good and see if you can beat yourselves from 2000 or whatever. All right. The next question is from Kale, who says, so since you're sponsored on Patreon, does that mean you're a sponsored skater? I call it sponsored when I talk about it on the channel because it's a skateboarding term, but I was very technically, I've been a pro skateboarder for like 20 years. Not 20, more like 15. So I started my first channel. Oh, when did I get my first check from Google for having a YouTube channel? Maybe 2008 at the latest. I know it was at least, then for sure at least. So I've been making money, aka professional, because of skateboarding for that long, for 13 years. So yeah, like I used to feel pretty good about that at some point, be like, oh yeah, I'm kind of a pro skater. Like I wouldn't try that line on anybody, but I would tell myself, like, you know what, you're kind of like a pro skater. You make money off of skateboarding. People, they don't pay me, but they watch ads that in turn pay me to watch me skate. Like, that's pretty cool. So, of course, that has no meaning, of course, But, yeah, there was a time when I would think about how I was a pro skater. And if I didn't have a job at the time, don't worry, I'm still a pro skater. All right. Next question is from Goosey IRL, who says, hello from Ireland. First off, thanks for doing what you do. I love the channel. Consistently surprised at how interesting you make the answers to seemingly, no offense intended to the audience, normal questions. So a couple of mine. Do you have any interest in running any mini contests with your audience, bragging rights being the only prize, like best pressure flip or submitting your style for trick of the week? I have thought about doing that stuff a lot and having like a hashtag that you use, and at the end of the week I'll review all of the stuff that was posted with that hashtag. But I don't really use my Instagram. There's some pretty heavy reasons for that that I might get into eventually, but I don't and kind of can't use it. So yeah, that one's not going to happen. As much fun as it would be and as smart as it would be for the channel. Like, it is a good idea. but I can't do that one right now. Second question was, have you ever thought of doing some interview videos with prominent skaters? You tend to have a good insight into different aspects of skating and definitely have the knowledge, so I'd be very interested to see the types of questions you'd have for different skaters. Well, when I have done my pro highlight videos, what do I call those? Retro rippers. When I've done those, I have always tried to reach out to the skater who I've made it about, and they've never answered. I've never gotten anybody to actually want to. The only person was Peter Smolik. I made a video about him, and he DM'd me, and he was like, there's a lot of mistakes in there. I need to set things right. And he gives me his phone number, and I called, and it was disconnected. Like, that was the closest I ever got to interviewing a pro skater. So that didn't happen. There is one that I'm trying to work on soon. It would be really helpful to have some insight from a specific pro skater about something. I'm going to reach out to him soon. Hopefully he answers. It would be cool. But yeah, we'll see. I hope that happens. All right. The next question is from Corey. Okay. So I've got a two-part question for you. If skateboarding is actually an art, shouldn't people like Todd Falcon or the Fancy Lad crew get more recognition for their creativity? And if skateboarding isn't an art, why do you think people like to pretend that it is? Hope my questions don't come off as pretentious. I'd love to hear your input. Okay. So I get where you're coming from, but being more creative doesn't make your art better. Some people just make bad art. You can put a lot of effort into it and it still just be bad. Like, I went to an art show last weekend, in fact, and most of the booths were like, you know, fine art, 2D, like paintings and stuff like that. Some people had woodwork and sculptures and stuff, but there was this one booth, and there were a lot that had bad art, but you can picture what a bad painting looks like. But just I've got some for you. I went to this booth, and they had things hanging that were about this big framed, and it was like a leaf, kind of like a, you know, kind of curled leaf, just green leaf in a frame. And I go up to that, and I'm thinking, like, what is this? And why did you frame a leaf and you're trying to sell it for like $100? Like, why did you do that? And I get closer, and there's this big explanation of his process. And you need to know the process to be at all impressed by it. What he does is he rolls copper very finely, and then he like carves it into a leaf. They're not actual leaves. He has emulated a leaf through copper, and then he paints it to look like a leaf. And I was thinking, like, if you just took a leaf and dipped it in the copper, like, in my opinion, it would look cooler. It would be less artistic because it doesn't take as much skill. You just bloop, you're done. Like, I've seen those for sale at like the gift shop at, you know, a museum or something like that. Very simple, common thing to do. But he has made something like that and done kind of the opposite because he paints it, but much, much, much harder. And I was just thinking, like, why would I want that? Why would I have to explain to people why this is interesting? Oh, you got a leaf there, huh? Oh, well, it's not really a leaf, but you believed it, didn't you? Yeah, he carved every little vein in it that just matched the species of the... Like, I just didn't get it. For me, that was a bad art project to do that. Very difficult. So, like, to link it back to skateboarding, just because something was high effort and difficult and creative doesn't mean that it was good. You know, how many paintings did I see of like a landscape at this art show? Quite a few. And some of them were very, very good. And some I would much rather have than a fake leaf because it was better to me. And art can be like that, where you can do a kickflip down a few stairs and you do it pretty well. And that's better than tipping the board over, catching it with your foot upside down, and then jumping back in. That was harder and more original, but I didn't like to watch it as much. And that's what's important, is how much people enjoy seeing you do it. So it is an art, but just like all art, you have to make things that are good with it. I think that explains my point on that pretty well. So that's it for this time. If you have any questions, go to radratvideo.com and you can submit them there. There's also t-shirts for sale on the site that you can buy to support me. You can also join Patreon. You can submit questions there. You can join on YouTube as well. And that's it for now. I will see you next time. Thanks for hanging out.